When time is up and the sun it dies, until the rivers flood and the ocean dries. Hand in hand under the falling sky, I will love you.
Hello, our viewers. Here again with our marriage show with Steve and
Eve,
We-
the
Twatwas. Yeah, and what do we have today?
how we met. Are you guys ready for it?
Oh.
Most of you have asked me, how did you guys meet? This is the time. Please don't get away. Wait for the story.
We are more than excited today to share with you how we met. It is really very interesting for you to listen to this wonderful story, how I met this beautiful and wonderfully made woman.
But do you even remember, honey?
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. Where did I meet you? Anyway, to cut the story short, this wonderful and beautiful woman is called Evelyn, was called at that time Evelyn Nachimoli. Like I said in previous shows, you've got to be social if you are to engage in a relationship. I was so intentional. I was positioning myself to find a soulmate. After a long spell of 5 to 6 years, after a big heartbreak, I took a break from dating.
Did you have a heartbreak?
Oh,
Did
yes.
you share that?
Yes, I probably did share.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, you
so
did.
I got invited for an event that was a graduation.
How long did it take after your heartbreak?
It took about 5 to 6 years.
Probably the viewers are thinking
Yes.
that immediately after your heartbreak, you went out to source.
No. It took me about 5 years. I think it's 5 years. That is when I went back into the market to look for a soulmate. But at that time it happened when I didn't know. So, but I was intentional to attend social events, like, the saying these days, okwetega. But this time it was not okwetega. I was just intentional to attend social events because there maybe you could find something. But this time a friend of mine called Doreen invited me for her graduation party.
Yeah.
She was my OG, Chambogo University, invited me for graduation party in, what place was it? Chireka. So I go there. Yes, he is a boy. I drove from my workplace. I go to attend a graduation party of my OG. I meet two beautiful ladies. I sit beside them. I was intentional. I sat beside them. I said, hello. So during that time, we had a chat. So when the party was ending, as I was moving out, they asked me, do you have a lift? And I told them, oh yeah, I do have. So I was intentional, I was kind, and I gave them a lift. On our way,
He had seen the beautiful girls.
I had seen the beautiful girls. Yes, when you see what you like, yes, you be intentional. So I was kind. Anyway, that time I was kind. I gave them a lift. So as we were going, I was dropping them to town so I could proceed to my home. So in the due process, I asked them whether they were single, and they told me they are engaged. Like, girls can tell you they are engaged, yet they are not. So I played it cool. I told them I am self-contained, the term I was using that time, that I'm moving with my entire family at that time because I didn't have anyone to account to. I was just going back to my small room. So at that time I got excited. I had met beautiful ladies and I told them, if you have any friend in your circles that does have any interest of dating, please holler me. This is my number. I passed on my number to these two ladies. I think their names were There were Barbara and Maureen.
And it so happened that the friends that he met, one of them was my friend and an OG that
Yes.
we had studied together way back in high school. So once upon a time, a friend calls me. She's like, "Oh, hi Eve, how are you? Are you dating? Are you seeing someone?" I'm like, "Oh, well, there is someone, but of course he doesn't seem to be so serious." So she told me, "If you don't mind, there is a guy who is very intentional. He wants to settle down, and probably you can plan and meet up." I'm like, "Well, okay, let him try. You can give him my number." So the guy called me. Definitely in that time of campus, when you're soon completing campus,
Yes.
your hopes are high that if you meet someone who is right, you go ahead with them. So she calls me, the guy calls me. When he called me, he told me, "Is it possible to meet you?" I'm like, "Well, it's not so easy because at home, I can only move out when I have been sent."
There's curfew time.
Yeah, there was some bit of restriction at home. You don't just go anywhere. So I told my mom, I'm going to town. There's something I was supposed to do. And then that time I planned to meet that guy. So, but my friend had told me already that this guy is called Steve. I'm like, okay, well, I'll meet him. So here I go. I meet this guy. We met somewhere, like kind of like office. That is how unserious some men tend to be.
Yep. It happens.
So we met in the office. He said, "If you don't mind, please come over." So I went in his office. There were some other two guys. And then he told me, "Unfortunately, you came in a bit late when my brother had just stepped out. And it's my brother who is very interested in you. He's the one who was supposed to meet you." I'm like, "Oh, well, cool. I'll come back." He's like, no, before you go,
Yes.
"Please, what's your name?" I'm like, "Yes, this is my name." Then he's like, "What is your date of birth? What are your interests?" Then I was wondering, you're not the person interested in me. And then you're asking details about me. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I was like, "Okay, well," I told him. And then he said, "Okay, when my brother comes back, he will give you a call." I'm like, "Cool." So I went back home. I was a bit disappointed because, when you are looking out, I was a bit disappointed, but then I played it cool. I went back home and then I called my friend. I told her, "Maureen, what happened? This guy, in my own understanding, I think he was the one." And then she told me, yes, "How was he dressed? How is he? How does he look?" And then I was like, "Yeah, he was like this and this." Then she told me, "That is the person." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I think he was lying just to check out to see who this chick is. If she's not the type of girl that I want or I'm interested in, I'll just let her be. So then I chilled, like, I forgot about that whole situation. Then after like a month later or 3 weeks later, my friend calls me again. She's like, "Oh, Eve, by the way, sorry the other time, maybe that guy had an issue with you, but I have a serious person. There is a guy who really wants to settle down." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm not so much into that, business. Or maybe you're seeing someone." I'm like, "There is someone, but not so serious." At that time, truth is, there's someone who was we're trying out, but he was a Muslim, and truth is, I knew the relationship was not going anywhere.
Yes.
Being a Christian and committed to serving, I knew it was not going anywhere.
Yes.
So I said, okay, it was a casual, like, kind of connection.
Yes.
So I told her, "What is the name of this guy that you want me to meet?" She says, "He's called Steve." I'm like, "Come on, you want me to meet the other fake guy again? The guy who disappointed me is the one you want me to meet?" She's like, no. This is a different a different guy. But remember, I had saved the other guy's number. And so I saved this number again. She gave the number to the new Steve. And then tell us.
Wow. Wow. Yes, that was interesting. Like I said, you need to position yourself at all times. When you need something, you've got to be good and kind, because you never know, out of the kindness, you will always have what you need. In that time, having received the contact, I call this lady. "Hello, how are you? What's your name?" And the lady tells me she's called Eve, and I tell her I am called Steve. Maureen introduced me to you, gave me your number. Do you mind if we can set up a time and we meet so we can talk? You get to know me and I get to know you. And the date was set to meet. That date was in the month of August.
Yeah,
We've-
19th.
In 19th.
We
yes.
actually celebrate that day.
Yeah.
Very, very much.
We were
celebrate
intentional.
it.
So
Yeah.
we made a number of appointments, but we landed on 19th.
Yeah, true.
We tried to meet prior, before 19th, but you know, we planned, but the Lord fulfills. So all the dates we tried to set, 12, something would come up.
Yeah.
But we both remained positive, and that was good. We kept communicating and
Yeah.
saying, oh, we have failed this day, but finally the day was set, and
I kept asking him, how does it feel to be single?
wow. Being single is so challenging, but it can be so nice if you're content.
Yeah.
At that time, I felt there comes a time when you feel it's not good to be alone, just like scriptures tells us. So that time I felt I was ready to have someone in my life. I was intentional. 18th came. I remember drove the car. It was 19th came, yes. I drove the very well from PG.
Baby, before you drove that
Yes,
car,
yes.
I've remembered something.
Yes.
We actually planned, yes, to meet that day on 19th.
Yes.
But what happened, I had an engagement. I was supposed to finish up with something. So when we talked, he said, can we meet later in the evening in town? I'm
Yeah.
like, cool. I'm not going to be so far from town.
Yes.
So I went, completed with the engagements that I had. I think I was going to pick my passport,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, of course, there was that excitement of, you know, getting your passport for the first time. And then here you are still excited. You're going to meet
Yes.
someone. Yeah, so when I left the place, he had told me, when you leave and you're ready to, you're coming, please give me a call.
Yes.
So I got into a taxi. I gave him a call. I called, and when I called this guy, he says, can we please meet in Nigeria? I'm like, what? Okay. So I switched off. And then I thought to myself, we planned and agreed to meet in town. Why is he telling me to meet in Nigeria? I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's what he wants. So along the way, he calls me. Now, this is really fun. This is where the story gets more interesting. Guys, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to listen to this? So when he called me, I'm like, he's like, where are you? I'm like, in the taxi, heading to Nigeria. You've told me to meet you in Nigeria. He's like, but come on, I don't remember telling you to meet in Nigeria. Then I got really confused. I'm like, what am I on? Little did I know that I'm talking to two people. Remember the other guy I told you, those who've been following the story?
Yes.
Those who follow the story, here
Yeah.
is it.
When towers up and the sun it dies, until the rivers flood and the ocean dries, hand in hand under the falling sky.